guys. We're back with Porta Potty, and Poopy Head has finally joined us after all his traveling that he's been doing, and Nature Call, as always. Today, we plan to talk about mental health between men, and it's a topic that has been investing and we've been thinking about speaking about for quite a while. It's also the June and November are the months where mental health awareness for men happens. So I'll start it off with just a quotation that I liked. Mental health is not really a destination, it's but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going. So on that note, let's start with the first question. So, Porta Potty, what do you think about mental health and how is it important for you?
Hello, also from my end. It's really interesting because when you send me kind of, hey, let's talk about mental health, I was a bit speechless in the beginning, was a bit confused, like, oh, what is everything into what counts as mental health? What is mental health, right? So because it's a really big topic, and I don't really thought about much about mental health in that sense, you know. I mean, I was thinking really, okay, what does it mean for me? And for me, the first thing which really pops up was, can we can we show vulnerability? Kind of mental health in case of if I have a really difficult times, I'm struggling with situation. Are we allowed to show vulnerability? Especially, I think it's a big topic about men. Can we say, okay, hey, I have a mental health issue. I have something to fix, and I think we talked about it also in our latest podcast a bit in that direction. And I think it's really important to say that, hey, I have an issue, I need help, right? There is something. So, and I read a lot after that and about mental health, and I think it really it's really a hard topic to talk. It's not easy, you know. I mean, I had situations in my life where I really were on a low level, like really felt down, like something happened, like relationship related, where I really was in a moment like, okay, I need to get out of my head. Like that's it's not healthy anymore, and I really struggled. And I think that was one of my biggest experience I had when it comes to mental health. Um, I don't know, Puppy Head. Maybe. What are your experience with mental health when you had that similar situation where you really felt like, hey, look, I feel there is something wrong, but for me, I couldn't really define it. Right? I didn't know really. Is it the topic mental health or where we going?
Yeah, mental health is a very loaded topic. It's a very wide range of issues and maybe concerns that people face throughout their lives. I feel like mental health is like a state of mind that people can go through. Sometimes they have the highs and lows. I think for me, it's like I think oftentimes I have moments where it's like I'm just sad for some reason, but it's kind of weird because sometimes it's just like a low for no reason, and I'm like, why do I feel so down? Like sometimes I have moments of feeling really happy after like accomplishing something or achieving something or like feeling satisfied, and then it's just like a random day of like, I don't, yeah, I feel like
You
and
feel old. He's the
not
youngest.
old, and not old. I say like I feel I'm like meh, I don't know. So um, but I feel like whenever it's issues of feeling down or something, I think what helps a lot is distracting yourself somehow. Because I think when people get fixated on stuff that makes them feel sad, it just makes them feel even more like negative. Like when you listen to like sad songs or whatever or things that make you try to get into that mood or stay in that mood, that can kind of negatively impact you in a spiral. And it's good to be able to find distractions that can put you in like a happy place or in a mindset where it's like, okay, let me just do like a treat yourself type day where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna relax, take it easy, and then maybe the next day you'll feel a lot better again, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go.
So it's seeing like self care, right?
Yeah, self aware.
I think that's important. Um, have you ever guys like had times or situations where as society or the stigma has been around men where either rough it out or men are tough and we're not allowed to share emotions and really truly say what we are thinking, just because society has taught us that way. Even our ancestors have taught us that way, that this is how men are. In those situations, do you just rough it out, don't share emotions? Do you share emotions with people that you feel close to, or what do you do?
I've noticed with the newer generation, my generation, that I think men are a little bit more willing to come out and share their emotions. It's, I think for me specifically, I'm very transparent in that I will share, what I'm going through, but to like a certain extent, like I wouldn't go overboard as much, but I think it's still a good thing to be able to talk about it with somebody, because if you kind of rough it out all the time, it's not everyone's at the same mental capacity. Like not all people are gonna be able to rough it out. Like some people would need a little bit more help than others. And I think for me specifically, it's good to be able to talk about it with people, because I feel like when I talk about my issues, it also makes me feel like, okay, hey, I'm talking to like a therapist. It's like I'm not, when I talk to people about my problems, I don't really talk looking for answers. I talk looking for people to listen. I think what's very important when people are going through stuff is that I think a lot of people are not really looking for answers. They're just looking for um, understanding and somebody that listens. Because I feel like when people are in their lowest moments in life, they feel like, oh, nobody cares about me, nobody wants to get to know me or listen to me. But I think just being present and being able to listen, I think that already solves a good chunk of the issues. I feel like if somebody's able to listen and understand them.
Yeah, I mean, how much can you take also? I mean, it's really it's. I agree totally what you say, and I want to hear a bit your view on that nature call. But I think also it's can be a lot, right? I mean, if you hear all the time from other people their problems and issue day on day, it can also triggers your mental health. Because I had an experience in my past where I had a person who complained about certain stuff every single day, and I was really close with that person, and I understand him and I listening to him, but there was to a point where I went into those negativity because everything what he had I put on me. You know what I mean? Like, and I tried to build sympathy, but there was also a point where I said, okay, but now you need to do something. You cannot always complain and complain and complain. You also now need to start putting the action in.
So, what I would say is that first, it's very important to self reflect and think about what are your feelings and understand it or consume it within your own self before you know what information you want to share with someone else, if or you want to see if others would like to listen to it and identify the right people who would not take advantage of you, which was the thing that we covered back in friendship, me and Porta Potty. But it's important to not only get heard, sometimes we don't really want a solution. We just want someone to listen to us, but also has experienced it before. So they understand where we're coming from. Me and Porter Potty have gone and grabbed beers a few times, and it feels quite a therapeutic session between us while we're drinking beers. Um, Hoopy had you were traveling, otherwise we would have invited you.
Okay. I didn't take it
So yeah,
personally.
we're not leaving you out, bro. Um, but yeah, I would say that nothing should be put underneath the rug. If something that you are feeling resentment about, and like let's say 24 to 48 hours, and you're still thinking about it, I would definitely say speak it out. Say it to somebody. If there's nobody, speak it to the ocean. I've told Poopy Head that I just go to Hudson River, and I just say it loudly to Hudson River. I'm like, I have my friends in Jersey, they're not going to hear me. The other friend is in Brooklyn, he's not going to hear me. So it's perfect. So yeah, just say your thought. What do you guys think?
It's important to say I need help, right? Or I need someone to listen. I totally agree. You should not hide yourself behind your emotions. I mean, I had to learn that. I mean, I was silent, I was quiet, I didn't share anything in the beginning, and you start to take everything on you until you explode. Like it's like, and it's more and more and more, and then suddenly it's too much, right? And you can't handle it anymore. Even though you cry, right, or you get aggressive, loud, whatever, but if you hide your emotion or keep it's not turns out well. And I have experience with friends that did the same, and I never heard that this is a healthy solution, right? And and I think also what I said before, with if you hear the same story from a friend every day, every day, every day, then it gets also too much. So I think you need to find really the right balance here. And I totally agree. You need to have someone who not criticize you. You need someone who really is interested in you, to hear that, really is there for you, and really shows that, right? I mean, you can tell if someone just like pretend to listening. It's like, yeah, yeah, whatever, yeah, okay, yeah, I see. Or really someone cares and really say, okay, I understand what you're saying, right? And maybe supports you on that way if you ask for help. And I think that's really important.
Hmm. I agree with. I've also maybe it's just an observation, but I tend to notice that whenever I talk about my issues with like strangers, like if I'm looking for advice specifically, I feel that strangers give better advice than if I speak with some of my friends, just because I feel like
Thank
if
you.
you're
Thank you.
talking about issues with friends, like, oh, I'm going through this, what do you think? I'm going through that, what do you think? Or I feel like depending on who your friends are, sometimes they will tend to maybe let you down easier, or maybe say things to kind of not make you feel bad, just like more in a friend kind of way. But I feel like if you talk about your issues with strangers, they don't really have the context of knowing who you are beforehand. So I feel like they're able to give better advice because they're coming from a mindset of, hey, I don't know who you are, but this is what I think from like a
Outside.
neutral point of view.
Yeah.
Question for you guys is that when you were saying, Bobby, had that you feel that your friends, do you mean all friends? Do you feel it's better for you to share with strangers, or are strangers able to understand you better? Or is it just too much of a general answer? Or what's
I
your
think
take
it's
on that?
just general, but I think also comes from the place of like, oh, maybe I feel maybe too embarrassed to share some of my issues because I'm like, oh, I don't want to burden my friends and stuff. It's good to talk about it with different people because depending on the age group or what the experiences are, sometimes they can give you a different perspective on how you look at that part of life, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting, and it might be able to influence the way that you live your life going forward. Because depending on what advice they give you, you can take it as a grain of salt, or you can take it as something that's worthwhile to you, and you'd be like, okay, this is. what I've learned from this conversation, and this is what I can take it towards. Um, and I feel that, but I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk about your issues with your friends. Like, it's just my opinion or my perspective. Like, some friends may not necessarily give you the best advice. Some may. It's just up to your own discretion. But I feel that when it comes to close friends, I think, especially if they understand where you're coming from, and I think I really appreciate like when your friends are like honest and also like direct at the same time, because I think when you're talking about issues with friends that aren't necessarily going to be maybe honest or truthful to you, you're not really going to get the best advice. But when you're talking about it with people that are willing to be able to be like, hey, you're in the wrong, I think that's something that is a valuable friend, because if you have friends that are like kind of yes men and they disagree with everything you say, then it's like you're just kind of talking to a wall. But if you're talking to somebody that's able to tell you, hey, what you're doing is wrong, this is why this is wrong, and you're able to have like a back and forth conversation but in a healthy way, I think that's a good, healthy relationship to grow with your friend, because they're able to be they're able to tell you if you're wrong or you're right, and they're able to be honest. And I think that's something that's very valuable when you're sharing your feelings or your thoughts. But also like knowing when to say that. I think especially if someone's going through a really dark time, you don't really necessarily want to tell them, "Hey, you're wrong," because that's probably the last thing they want to hear when they're like feeling sad or depressed. But maybe being able to acknowledge and understand where they're coming from, and then just being there for them, I think, is the most important part. And then, depending on how they can take it down the road, you can maybe help them a little bit more in saying, hey, I think we should go towards this direction to get you in a better spot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thought on it. So
No, I hear you on this. But first, I won't really say the few things I don't really feel that I'm on the same page with you. Most of it, I would say I am. But first of all, I don't think there is any right or wrong, depression or not. I think when we're just thinking and we're sharing our thoughts, we're just having a chat with somebody, or we're trying to understand our own situation, I think it's important to just listen and talk. There's no right and wrong in anything. It's just a conversation. So I think if we put morals and right and wrong, then whatever we are trying to share, we won't be sharing. We'll probably stop it midway as guys, because we're like, oh, okay, if you think it's wrong, then you're probably not the right person to share with or something. Um, that's one point. Before I move on, do you have anything to say, Pupi or Hoda?
It was interesting to listen to you, and I remember you said something really strong in the last friendship podcast where you said a true friend also tells you directly in your face when you're wrong. He's not shy to telling you, hey man, what you're saying is bullshit, or what you're saying doesn't make sense, or hey, wake up now. It's you had your time to cry, and I understand that, but now you also need to move on. And I think I understand what you said about that the stranger has more the neutral view on it, and that's fair. But I think also it gives you more general advice. A true friend, which you have discussions before and knows who you are, can tell you directly, kind of, hey, look, that's not you, or what you're doing doesn't make sense. And I appreciate that comment because I know he really means it. And but I understand, like, a person you don't know well and he tells you this stuff, you would say, yeah, okay, thanks for your opinion, but you don't know me really, right? You don't know what I'm going through. But a good, really true friend, I think, really understands you and is allowed to tell into my face directly when I'm wrong, or when that's, and I think you said that last time in the friendship podcast, and I really like that.
I think it's important when coming with, you know, it's tough to also find two friends, the ones that you feel. But one thing I did definitely learn from Poopy Head is that he doesn't feel comfortable sharing things with me. Poopy Head, you're gonna be in trouble when we meet. No, I'm just kidding. We've talked a lot, and now you're saying I prefer strangers. Okay, bro, I see you. See you, man.
That's why I was on vacation.
That's what you came.
3 weeks.
No, I hear you. So I think it depends if we have true friends or not in the same city or available at all times because we all are living different lives and sometimes they might not be there. But yes, if we have one, we can share our thoughts and our inner thoughts and demons or even things that we are scared of that we can't really share with the outside world or our friends or even family members at times because they won't be able to understand where we're coming from and what we're saying. I have actually, in this case, for mental health, I know it's a tough topic and I appreciate both you talking about it, even though um, I know that you both weren't happiest when you heard that that's the topic I wanted to pick to speak about. But I've read a lot about it and I'm still, myself, I'm trying to figure it out better. I think the head is a very interesting thing. We could actually get lost in our own heads. And even if, like Poopy had said, we could make something positive even into a negative. Like he has those meh movements, which makes no sense to me. But when he's having them, I'm just listening to him. And he's the happiest man. He's achieved something. He said something beautiful between all those lines. We sometimes as men forget to define boundaries. And what I mean by that is not physical only, I mean emotional, mental, and just like creating a safe space between ourselves, between just us, or we are all overthinkers because we do feel what the society expects us to do, what we should do ourselves, what feels true to us. So personally, what has worked for me has been that I've just sectionalized everything. I used to overthink and I felt that there was a lot of things to do. Now I feel nothing is that tough because I just break everything in a million pieces. And I just do small things. And yes, it takes a longer time to complete it. But rather than me saying it in 3 years, I'm still at the same spot, I finished it. And because of that, my frustration in me, or us spiraling out in anger, or like it's not that we're angry with anyone else. We're technically angry, at least in my case. We are. I'm just angry with my own self that I'm not able to achieve it, or I'm not moving forward with things. But I've realized ever since I've started cutting small things and making it very simple, and I'm like, I could do this, and I don't have any dependency on anyone. Then I can finish this and just keep moving on. And it has made me a happier person. And I've realized that I have everything pretty much right in front of me. And there's nothing that I feel or anything I have resentment towards. I'm actually at a good place. Before I keep moving on, what is your guys' comments on that?
I really liked the two things you said. First off, cut it into pieces step by step, because often I think I have the feeling like people want to solve an issue right away, everything or nothing. But I think it's especially how how we say that, how strong your mental health issue is, whatever it is, right? When you step by step, every day a little bit better, you get out of that. I think this is really because it's like training, right? You don't see it maybe when you train 1 day or 2 days in a row with your physical mental health, like physical health, like, but over time you see a result, you get stronger, you have more muscles. So it's a process. And I think that also is important for the mental piece. slowly, every little bit more until you get there, you get out of that thing. And the second thing is also the mind, which you said, is if you think negative, you have that feeling inside you. But if you try to change it into positive thinking and also see a bit, okay, maybe there is an issue, but here I don't have an issue, appreciation, but I have other good things. I look at the positive things, positive thinking, it also helps you. I think that those two things I think are really crucial to have another mind, like, or get out of that. That's how I see it.
I agree with you, porta potty, on the mindset of like if you're negative thinking, you're gonna probably see a lot of negative stuff happening in your life, and if you're thinking positive, you're more likely to see something positive happen in your life because when you're already in that mindset of being so negative, you're gonna find everything else potentially more negative. Like if you're having a bad day, like oh, like this coffee was made bad. Oh, I was late to work like maybe 5 minutes. Like you're focused on the very little nitty gritty things that don't really matter as much. And if you just change your perspective, I think a lot of it's really perspective. Like in life, like there's a lot of bad things, there's a lot of good things, but how you choose to see life will really shape your mental health, well-being. So if you tend to really focus more on the things that do matter and you focus less on the nitty gritty negative things less, I think you'll have a much better like mindset going forward and a much healthier mindset because when you're negative all the time, it just kind of really drags you down mentally. And then, by the end of the week, you're going to be so exhausted because you were so focused on so many things, maybe overthinking or just such in a bad mindset that mentally is just so draining, and it might even be physically draining as well because when you're just, I guess, maybe shut down in a way, it just really carries on over into how you kind of carry yourself physically and mentally throughout the days.
And it's not easy. I mean, just to add on that, because our brain is trained to see mistakes and issue and problem. And it's easier to think about the negative. And I always say, imagine you do a test. There are 100 questions and you solved 99 of those questions correct, but one is a mistake. What's the first thing you do when you get the test result back? You look at the one thing which is negative, which you didn't, right? The mistake.
But to come to a closing thought so we can take it up again. I know this, even though this call we're discussing a tough topic, we're dealing with excitement in the sense of technical issues, and it's a topic that few men would like to talk about. I think it's good that we still talk about it. I feel playing the one simple game now. But I think it's important if you feel pain to either be silent and think about it and create space for yourself, or you can journalize and enter everything in. This would help us to put our thoughts down and reflect and see what we would like to share with ourselves and what we would like to share with close loved ones, or what we would like to see or believe, and how we can be positive and not feel like we have to put everything underneath a rug. Because if you put things underneath a rug, or you don't share feelings or emotions or thoughts, or and we don't need to be a professional person to journal our thoughts down in a book. It's not like journal 101. You just take your simple thoughts and just as a point just write it down. We could definitely lighten our own load that we have in our own head, that we think is quite heavy, and not get thoughts of anxiety, depression. I know some of my friends even had suicidal thoughts, which I'm happy that they have got out of it. Um, and just not feel full. Like we all have a jar of emotions, and if we can just share, and even if you don't have anyone to share, just share with your own self and speak loudly or speak into a mirror. And a beautiful thing that Poopy had said in the start was self-care and self-love. You can get a massage, or you can do social activity like the three of us. We play tons of sports. We enjoy it. We love it. Um, then I was doing the gym the other day, and Poopy had helped me to realize that I had my form incorrect, and I was doing chest, but I was only feeling shoulders. And then corrected my technique, and then I felt so much pain here, good pain. I felt pain here, and but that was just because I shared with him that hey, this is an issue I'm facing. Why is my chest not becoming stronger? And it's as long as we share and we ask for help. I know it's something as men we are taught not to do, and stick with the stigma, stay strong, not ask for help, stay alone, be a lone wolf. I think at sometimes that's just a personal thing. I think that's the dumbest thing out there. Even wolves do better in packs. So it's better to be in a pack, share your thoughts, and help each other than be lonely out there. The world's pretty lonely. So that's what I would say. I would love to know your thoughts on it. And then I have one last question to ask before we end this. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. I think journaling is also, as you said, writing down stuff, journaling for yourself if you are not capable to share with a friend. Meditation is also, I think, really strong, helps. And I mean, we are not therapists. I mean, absolutely not. But I think when you said really like it can lead to suicide thinking or maybe drugs or whatever bad stuff, a lot of alcohol, then you need help, right? And it's okay, you know. I mean, don't have the feeling, as you said, like you cannot show it. I mean, then seek help, and this is really important. And I think what I always helped me if I had those moments of what you said in the beginning, like, I'm sad. I cannot really say why, or it's okay, and you're not alone there. So don't have the feeling, oh, I'm the only one who is like that. I have an issue. What's wrong with me? It's absolutely normal because it's hard to be all the time positive. It's hard to be all the time happy, and life is challenging. Life is hard, and it's also okay to feel bad. It's also okay to cry. It's all okay. Even you have the toughest man on that planet, it's okay, you know. And you should be telling yourself, okay, I'm doing that now. I take my 15 minutes. I'm allow myself to be sad. I allow myself to write down my thoughts, and then try to go back to the strong mindset you have.
Yep, I agree on that porta potty. And just to add on, I think it's definitely good to be able to take that time because when you ignore it and bottle it up, it just becomes worse and worse. I think for me specifically, it's like if I'm feeling some type of way, like if I have some negative thoughts that I've been thinking about or going through, instead of just having it spiral on and on, sometimes I like to put in a like kind of like a like in a journal. Like I like to journal it so that it doesn't become like an echo chamber and I'm just repeating the same stuff and again. I feel like if I write it down, in a sense, it makes me kind of let go of that thought because I'm journaling like this is what I feel. Close the book. That's it. I think it helps me like put that thought in a place. And sometimes if I write out how I'm going through it, how I'm feeling, I think that helps me in a sense like I'm talking to somebody, although I'm really just writing in like a book. But in a sense, it makes me feel like I'm talking to like a person or like an inanimate object, just so that they can, in a sense, listen. I think also what helps me go through issues is really outdoor activities. So like going to the gym or playing sports or doing hiking or walks. I think really helps you kind of just refresh your mind and refresh also help your body as well because it just kind of you get distracted. I feel like when I go on walks, like maybe by the boardwalk, I might get distracted by people walking or running or cycling, and then you also get the sounds of birds, trees, the water flowing. You just get distracted by so many noises by nature that it just really takes your mind a little bit off of what you're going through. And sometimes what really changes my perspective is that if I'm like out at a park or the boardwalk, for example, and I see like, especially like people having fun and people just really just in the moment enjoying life, I think that really changes my perspective a lot because, like, if I'm going through something really negative, and then I'm able, if I see stuff like that happening where people are enjoying themselves, that kind of makes me put myself out of my mind into like a different perspective. So it's like, so it kind of makes me think like, oh, instead of me thinking about myself all the time, now I get to see a little bit of putting my shoes into other people's perspectives. I'm like, oh, okay,
Mm.
they're, in the moment enjoying life. It makes me feel that like my problems, they don't necessarily mean like they're not warranted, but they make me feel that my problems aren't the end of the world, right? Like, oh, there's more to life than just this. Like, oh, okay, there's something to look forward to.
The last thing that I would probably ask you guys would be if you had to share one message to the younger you, what would that be so that you could deal with mental health or issues of vulnerability better to the younger side? Let's say 10 years back.
You start.
Feeling this is coming to
Yeah, let's get all the audio issues out.
oh, it's me. We all know who fault it is, okay?
Right, sure.
Okay. Or someone who me. Everything will be all right. I think we make things so big and things will happen and get negative, anxiety, depression, and feel the world will fall on us. And what will happen at work? So I think I would tell myself, you don't have to worry about all of it. Everything will fit in its place. It's just a puzzle piece. A simple puzzle is out. Give it time, smile. It will figure itself out. And that's what life is. It's just a bunch of puzzle pieces. We can choose which puzzle piece to stop at and live that life out, or pick small puzzles as we go on. So, yeah, I would say everything will be good. That's my message to myself. On to you, Poopy. Oh no, sorry, Poopy, you stay quiet. Uh, what a party. You,
I'm
you speak
ready
fast.
to.
The audio is good.
Okay. I'll hold back.
Oh, you're back. Okay. First of all, well said. I really liked your message to your younger you. Um, I would say don't make it harder. Stop beating you up yourself. How you say that in English? Like don't beat you up yourself. Don't beat you up yourself all the time. I mean, often I still have the tendency, but I'm getting better in that. Is to add on to that and think like, make it worse. Like because I'm not happy with myself, then I say why you think like that, and I think it doesn't happen in that moment because you already are sad. You already have an issue or something you want to overcome, and then if you start overthinking and then you're being mad at yourself all the time because you feel like you feel, it doesn't help. I mean, it's not sustainable. So stop, be mad at yourself. It's okay. We all grow. We are not perfect. Learn out of it and make it better next time. Try to be more positive. Try to not just only say you will do meditation, do it. So make actions out of it and stop, as I said, be mad at yourself. I think that's what I would tell my younger me.
I think there's so much we take on ourselves, and sometimes we beat our own selves so hard. And we've seen it actually even when we play games that feel so harsh and hard on our own selves that actually impacts us emotionally, physically, and mentally. And we can see it. We all have done that. Beautiful point. On to technical issue. Go ahead, Poopy.
I was going to use Nature Calls advice to his younger self because I think that's something that resonates with me. But to expand on Nature Call and Porta Potty's notes of don't worry so much about stuff and also don't be mad at yourself. I wanted to add on a advice to myself that I should um, be not afraid to take risks or just actions that I think, like you sometimes we're afraid. Some people can be afraid of change, especially a drastic change, because they're like, some people might feel not complacent, but it's like you feel comfortable. Like you feel comfortable where you are, but sometimes it's not good to always be in the same spot all the time because that won't help you grow as a person. And I feel like I think what really helped me a lot is not really the successes or the achievements, but rather the mistakes. I think being open to making mistakes and um, being open to mistakes really helps me grow the most rather than the achievements because the mistakes really show me, hey, I'm going through this right now. What can I do from here to maybe fix that or move forward from here? So I think going through the trials and tribulations, they may not necessarily be mistakes, but rather they might just be like a different result. Like it may not be a mistake; it's just a different result. I think those really helps me grow, and for the younger self to be not afraid of making mistakes and being willing to take more risks would really help me grow because it gives me a different perspective. And I feel like when you do it early on, it really shapes you more. And I feel like you get more learning in your life that will help you prepare yourself for in the future down the road if you ever have come across those situations again. So that's what I would probably tell my younger self. Like, don't be afraid of mistakes. Don't be afraid to take risks because you never know what might happen.
Want to thank you all for doing this video even under the most exciting norms. I am sure our audience will feel the same. Um, good luck to Poopy Head for editing and fixing all your issues. And I would recommend any of the men, women, or any subscribers or viewers are welcome to share what are some of the things people are vulnerable or face issues with or have mental issues or things that they would like to convey or have questions about.
I mean, I really enjoy those talks because it also is a good reflection. I mean, I think a lot about those topics and about past experience. So, and we also don't know each other that well yet.
Thank God for that. It's good to be a stranger.
Yeah.
Ask Poopy Head.
So, but thanks, I appreciate. Thanks for being open.